Beacons are one of the best items in Minecraft, but because of that, they're complicated and can be difficult to use effectively. No worries though, because in this guide, I'll show you everything about beacons. Beacons are crafted with nether stars. They're only dropped by one mob, which is the Wither, and they only drop one when they die. Of course, the Wither's a very difficult mob, which makes the beacon a very rare item to get. And if you want to learn more about the Wither and how to get the nether star, as of course that's basically the hardest part of getting a beacon, I have a video all about that, and I'll have an iCard on the screen right now. This is actually a part 2 to that video, the first one covering withers, and this one covering beacons, so I definitely suggest to check out both of those. Alright, how do you craft the beacon? Of course the nether star isn't a beacon, so if we place that nether star in the crafting table, we put 5 glass on the top, and we put 3 obsidian on the bottom. That will give us the beacon. However, if we just place this beacon down on the ground, nothing will happen. It'll act like just a standard block. We can break it with our fist and it will still drop that item, so there's no need to worry about that, but it just won't do anything. So if you want the beacon to activate and have any effects, it has to be on what's known as a beacon pyramid. Now you need a massive amount of these materials, so whatever you use, it should be somewhat easy to get. There's only 5 different things you can make beacon bases out of. You can make them out of iron blocks, which of course an iron farm or maybe a large iron vein would be the best way of getting that. You can also make them out of gold blocks, and a industrial gold farm would be good for that. You can make them out of diamond blocks, which a lot of mining would give you the ability to do that. And you can make them out of netherite, which is basically pointless as it's so much work, but you can do that, and of course a lot of bed mining or strip mining in the nether would give you that. And finally, another somewhat easy method is to have a base of emerald blocks, as of course with discounted villagers, getting a bulk amount of emeralds is probably easier than getting a bulk amount of iron or gold. The material that the beacon pyramid is made out of does not affect the beacon's performance or how it works in any single way. However, what does influence the beacon a lot is how big the pyramid is. So the first beacon pyramid base is a 3x3 or 9 blocks, and that gives you the first type of beacon power right here. Then there is the second beacon base, which is a 3x3 on top of a 5x5 or 34 blocks, and that will give you the first and the second primary powers to select from. Then there is the third one, which has 3 tiers, a 3x3, a 5x5, and a 7x7. That 7x7 adds a lot of blocks, making this be 83 blocks you need to make this. And finally, the biggest beacon pyramid, which is a 3x3 on a 5x5 on a 7x7, finally on a 9x9, which is a total of 164 blocks, or 2 stacks of 64, and 36 blocks to make this beacon. And here we also have the secondary power and a lot of other effects. But something really important to know is that you can reuse these blocks for multiple different beacons, which can make setting up what's known as a mega beacon be a very good and cheap way of getting all your effects. So for the first mega beacon size, if we're talking about a 6 beacon mega beacon, level 1 is 20 blocks, level 1 and level 2 is 62 blocks. Then the top 3 tiers of the beacon giving us level 3 is 134 blocks, and the total if you're going to build the entire mega beacon is 244 blocks, which sounds like a lot because it is, but that's not even double what it takes to make a singular beacon. And also, as you can see here, beacon bases can be made with a mix of different materials. It does not just have to be pure iron, pure gold, pure diamond, or pure netherite. Enough about beacon pyramids, on to beacon powers. The first question would be, what is the range of beacon powers? Well, this also does have to do with the pyramid size. The level 1 range of a beacon is 20 blocks in a radius. The range of a level 2 beacon is 30 blocks in a radius. The range of level 3 is 40 blocks in a radius. And the range of level 4 is 50 blocks in a radius. So you're gaining 10 blocks radius per tier you have on the beacon here. Something that's important to know is this is not a circle, this is a square column, and you can kind of see that we have like these spokes coming out of every single side of the beacon. There's like a square going around it, and that square is getting larger depending on how many tiers of the beacon we have. Also, in terms of the size, the beacon effect goes from the beacon up 384 blocks, or more or less the entire area that you would be building in your world, but it only goes below the beacon at the same range as it does to the side. However, if you put the beacon at the very bottom of your world and then you power it on, you will have that beacon power no matter where you are. And for the specific powers, there are 6 different powers that the beacon gives you. That's why the Mega Beacon has the 6 beacons there, and the first 2 powers that you unlock with level 1 are Speed and Haste. To actually power on a beacon, we put in one of the small varieties of those ore blocks, so one of the actual items, so let's say netherite ingot, emerald, diamond, gold ingot, or iron ingot. I would always suggest something like an iron ingot, and definitely a netherite ingot, where a diamond would be a horribly bad idea. And so you want to select Speed or Haste if you have level 1. Speed is exactly the same as, let's say, a speed potion would be. You just walk slightly faster. It is not exclusive to this beacon. There is also the Haste effect. This is something you can only get with the beacon, and with that you mine quicker, and although at Haste 1 it might not be super easy to see the effect, it enables you to instantly mine a lot of things, and I will get more into that later. At level 2 you unlock these 2 new effects. You can still do the old effects, or you can pick one of the new effects. So we're going to pick, let's say, Resistance. Resistance is really good, as you can only get it through Potions of the Turtle Master otherwise, and more or less it makes you resistant to damage. And the other effect you unlock at level 1 is Jump Boost, which is basically the exact same as a potion of leaping, enabling you to jump a little bit higher, which can definitely be useful for traversing around, especially if you're, let's say, living in a mountainous area like this area is here. At stage 3 you unlock the Strength effect. You do not unlock 2 more, just Strength, and Strength is something where whatever you hit or whatever you're punching, you will inflict more damage to it, and on to what gives you that higher level effect. If you're at the 4th stage of beacons, a lot of things become very overpowered. So not only do you unlock the regeneration effect, but you unlock secondary power, which means you can get level 2 of any of these. You can have Speed 2, Haste 2, Resistance 2, Jump Boost 2, or Strength 2. And of course with some of these like Jump Boost 2, it can be incredibly better than Jump Boost 1, or you can pick a primary power and have the secondary power be Regeneration. So let's say we selected that and we have Regeneration and Resistance. Well, Regeneration is a great effect, because even if you don't have a lot of food, you're still going to slowly regenerate your hearts, which is definitely a very overpowered and good thing, because especially on Bedrock Edition, regenerating health can take a very long time, and so having that regeneration beacon effect is a great way of replenishing your health without always having to be on your fullest amount of hunger. But here's a little secret you can do with beacons. If you have a 4-stage beacon, you can actually have 2 primary effects, not just a primary and a secondary effect. So let's say we want Speed and Jump Boost. We'll select Speed here and select level 2 here, but instead of confirming that, we'll go back here and we're going to click Jump Boost here. And even though visually only one of these is selected, when we press OK, what you may notice is that we're going to get the Speed effect and the Jump Boost 2 effect both at level 1, which is a really awesome thing. Or for instance, you can see right here we don't have Haste or Resistance right now, so I can show that. Again, select the effect, enable it at level 2, then click over here the primary power again, power that, and you can see we've now gained Resistance and Haste at level 1. So that's how you get 2 primary powers if you do not want the second level of this, and would rather, let's say, the ability to jump a little bit higher and run a little bit faster. But the beacon gives you a status effect, which means it's very similar to a potion effect. If you look in your inventory and see the screen where you can see what effects you have, you'll notice it says Jump Boost, Strength, Resistance, whatever else you have, and a timer. That timer is going to reset, so it's going to go down to 9 seconds and go back up to 12 on some of them. It actually depends on what the effect is. So right here, this beacon is giving us that resistance. So if we look at resistance, what'll happen is it'll go down to 13, it'll jump back up to 16, and go down the timer like that. Here's the reason why. You regain the status effect for 9 seconds every 4 seconds that you're within the beacon's radius, and you get 2 more seconds of the effect per level of the beacon. So let's say we're at beacon level 4. We will be getting that effect for 17 seconds, then once it goes to 13 seconds, it'll give us the effect again, but of course because of delay, and because 17 instantly goes down, then that will look like 16 on here, and it will flip back at about 12. But before we get into more important info about the beacon, what's your favorite beacon effect? Be sure to tell me in the comments below, as of course those 6 different effects do have lots of interesting uses, and also combinations that are helpful. On to another visual effect of the beacon beam. However, even though it is supposed to be a beacon, in the Bedrock version of the game, that beacon beam will disappear from your view only 64 blocks away, so you can't get that effect of going very far away but still seeing that beacon beam rising into the sky. However, even in Java, that beacon beam does not go out at render distance, it goes out at 256 blocks away. We could even zoom in our FOV to make it more obvious. You can notice here as we get closer, that big beacon will render in, but as we get out of that 256 block range, it disappears. But speaking of its range, if we look up, it seems to go infinitely high into the sky. But is that actually true? And you'll notice as we finally get to the top here, there is an end to those beacons. However, it is very far away. These beacons stop rendering over 1,020 blocks away from where they were placed. And that's far out of any render distance, and so because of that, you can have these interesting beacons that go all the way up into the sky, and you can see at the end of them there isn't even sort of a stop of the render, but you can also see it's not a hard limit at the top of the world, because you can see the beacon height of these 2 ones stops here, but if we go over here, there are beacons that are even higher up in the air, and so that is not cut off at a certain level, but it simply goes about 1,020 blocks above wherever that beacon is placed. But just plain white beacon beams can be a little bit boring, wouldn't you say? And so here's how you can color those beacon beams to be more interesting. Placing a block on top of those beacon beams will change their colors if it is stained glass or it is a stained glass pane. As you can see here, it's rather obvious to see those stained glass go on top of the beacons there, and so if you want a little bit more of a discrete coloring of your beacon, you'll be making it look like that beacon beam came out of the beacon as that color, then you can use the panes, as they are fully hidden inside of the beacon beam. And you can notice that right here, we have now turned this beacon beam a bright purple. You can mix these to get any single RGB color that there is. So let's say we don't want red and we don't want orange, we want sort of a reddish orange. We can put down a red piece of stained glass, and above that an orange piece of stained glass. And we're not just getting an orange beacon here. Here's an orange beacon. We're getting a red-orange beacon. And so because of that, we can influence this color a lot. So because of this too, not only can you have the beacon beam change color if you want, you can also have a sort of interesting rainbow beacon look to this, although of course because the colors do blend and they don't just stay the same, they do get a little bit muddy looking by the top, but you can see there still, we do have an interesting way of changing the beacon beam color to whatever you wanted. Another question might be, what happens if you put tinted glass on top of a beacon? Well, unfortunately that makes the beacon power off, as of course tinted glass stops any light from going through that beacon. And that actually has an important question. What blocks can the beacon beam go through? Well, of course it can go through any transparent block, like let's say these stained glass right here. But another thing it can go through that you may not guess is it can go through bedrock, and the reason for this is really simple. That way you can have beacons be set up in the nether, and that beacon beam can still go through the nether roof's bedrock. It can also go through, of course, standard glass, even though it does not change the color of the beacon beam. And finally, it can go through end portal frames. Now, I'm not 100% sure why it can go through end portal frames, but I'm guessing the idea is, let's say you wanted to have a beacon that was below the end portal room, then you would have a way of having that happen without having that end portal frame sort of have a permanent obstruction to where a beacon could be placed. And so because of that, you can use the beacon in any dimension that you want, as of course it works in the end then, and the nether, and the overworld. Well, I'm going to show you the specific uses of the beacon right now. Well, the first big use I would suggest for the beacon is using it to protect your base with the strength, resistance, and regeneration effects. So for instance, strength, which could be upgraded to strength 2, or maybe combined with regeneration. Let's say we have some dangerous hostile mobs that are trying to attack us at our amazing survival base. Well then with that strength and regeneration, we can kill that skeleton more easily, but also when we get hurt, our health will be regenerated quicker, but also resistance 2 can be a great idea. As with the resistance effect, when mobs hit you, you aren't hurt as much. Having extra defense against mobs, I mean that could even be things like the wither if you're doing a wither fight, is always an incredibly important thing to have. But now it is daytime at my amazing survival base, and I have a better use for this beacon, and that is helping you move quicker and more efficiently. So you can use jump boost and jump boost 2 for this, or a good combination as well is to have jump boost and then click here and then click back on speed to have both effects like that, so you can have jump boost and speed be your effects, as in you can move around just a little bit quicker around your base. Now the only beacon effect we haven't talked about here is almost assuredly the most popular beacon effect by far, and that is Haste, and of course Haste 2. And I'll go into some uses for Haste right now, and some tricks to use it the most effectively. It's especially useful with Haste, but no matter what type of beacon you have, I would always suggest to make yourself a portable beacon box. So inside of your ender chest, to have a shulker box, I've just named this beacon in a box, and to have a beacon with the right amount of materials in there for the full level 4 beacon, as well as some extra materials you do not mind using to power up the beacon. So I usually use emeralds, as they're a little bit less useful to me than iron, but then I can place that beacon down and I don't have to worry about having to find what materials I had, and once I'm done using this beacon, then I can just place all the materials back into that beacon box. And that portable beacon setup is complete. Even if you have the best efficiency 5 netherite pickaxe, that does not make most blocks in the game be instantly mineable, only upgrading the mining speed to a certain point, but it's still taking a decent amount of time to really mine out anything. And of course, because the Minecraft world is 3D, mining out what would seem like a small space can still entail thousands of blocks. That's where Haste comes in. If we turn this on to Haste 2, then we can start instantly mining a massive number of blocks. No, it's not every block in the game, but it's a lot that we couldn't before. It's also great for collecting, like what I'm doing right now. I would personally suggest using it in a sort of sweeping motion like I am right now, where I'm sort of spiraling back and forth like this, taking out blocks as I go, then eventually I can go back and pick up all those items, but applying this to different blocks is great. So this is every single type of block that the Haste 2 beacon makes instantly mineable. Some of these are only on Java, some are only on Bedrock, but generally they're all for both. The first one is, if you have an efficiency 5 hoe, you can now instantly mine these skulk sensors, which makes it great if you're trying to clear out, let's say, a deep dark biome. You can also instantly mine bookshelves if you have an efficiency 5 axe. And of course, with almost all of these things made instant mineable, you're going to need the best tools to do it. Not in Java, but if you're in Bedrock Edition, then you can instantly mine all types of logs if you have the Haste 2 effect, which is of course incredibly overpowered for clearing out forests. You can instantly mine the polished and unpolished varieties of andesite, diorite, and granite if you have a Haste 2 beacon. You can also instantly mine stone. However, you cannot instantly mine deep slate or any deep slate variants, but you can instantly mine out tuff, which is a very good benefit. You can also instantly mine out the basalt and polished basalt, and as we were just showing over there, you can instantly mine out terracotta in the terracotta biome, or well, the Badlands biome. Also another Bedrock exclusive, if you're in Bedrock Edition, you can instantly mine cobblestone blocks, the blocks in the stairs. However, of course in Java you cannot do that. Also, you can now instantly mine the amethyst blocks, and blackstone blocks are made instantly mineable, and also good for breaking a lot of things quickly. If you're trying to mine up things in a coral reef, then the beacon is exactly what you want, because you can then instantly mine all types of coral, dead coral, alive coral, whatever you want, which is a very good thing. Another ocean block, all types of prismarine are now made instantly mineable, and all types of dripstone are instantly mineable. Here's one Java Edition exclusive. You can instantly mine the pistons, but you cannot instantly mine pistons in Bedrock Edition. You can also instantly mine the purpur bricks, but not the end bricks, so if you want to get rid of a bunch of the purpur, that's good. And finally, you can get rid of the stone bricks with instant mining. And so those are all of the different things that you can instantly mine if you have a Haste 2 beacon. And just looking over all of those, you can kind of imagine all the uses for that. And this is definitely a good reference to know of what items you can get rid of quickly and which ones you can't. I hope you enjoyed that beacon guide, but the real question is, how many times did I say beacon in this video?